Hello, good evening. Good evening. Hello. Hello. Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay. In the previous class, we understood classes and functions. Okay. And many examples also you people understood small examples. Okay. So now we'll go for understanding the classes and methods. And in the previous class, you understood the difference between the pure functions and modifier functions, and um, how modifier functions are used in order to update the instance which is passed as argument to the function. So now today we'll just understand the classes and methods. Okay. So before we start, we'll discuss some important characteristics of uh, object-oriented programming. Okay. Object-oriented features. Python is an object-oriented programming language. So because it provides you the support for doing the object-oriented programming. So some of the important characteristics are, so the programs are made up of object definitions and function definitions, and most of the computations are written in the form of operations on objects. Okay. And each object definition corresponds to some object or concept in the real world, and the functions that operate on that object corresponds to the ways the real world object interacts. Okay, these are some of the important characteristics and the advantages of doing the object oriented programming. So now we have already discussed the classes, something like, so the point class we understood, rectangle class and time class. These are the three classes which we considered as example classes in the earlier discussion. Okay, when we discussed the classes and objects and classes and functions. So these were the three example classes that were taken. Okay. So now in all these classes, so whether in the point class, rectangle class and the time class, so the function definition what we wrote, so they were written outside the classes. Okay. So if you just recall the point or the rectangle class or the time class what we wrote and everything, so the definition of the function was written outside the class. I'll show you. Now if I take this, yeah, you can just observe here class time, and we didn't write anything inside the class, so we just gave the compounded statement class time, and we wrote pass and all the definitions, print time, compare, all these functions they were written outside the class. And the same thing what we did for the rectangle class also, and for the time class also. Okay, so they were written outside the class. Now methods and functions. So in the previous class you understood classes and functions. Now we are trying to understand classes and methods. Now what are the differences? Okay, so we have already seen some methods. Okay, so we're not discussing the methods for the first time. So we have already understood some methods such as keys, values, which were invoked on the dictionary object. Keys was a method, values was a method. So if I want to get the list of keys from the dictionary, then I used to invoke the method keys on the dictionary. Similarly, to get the list of values, I used to invoke the values method on the dictionary object. Okay. Now each method is associated with a class. Say for example, keys is associated with the dictionary class, and values is again associated with the dictionary class, something like this. So each method is associated with a class and is intended to be invoked on instance of that class. Okay. So methods are just like functions with two differences. Now what are the differences? So this is what you got to understand. So methods are defined inside the class definition. Okay. Now where we write the methods, and it is inside the class definition. If you're writing the definition of a function inside the class, then we call it as a method. So if you're writing it outside the class, then it is called as a function. And what we wrote in the previous classes and all, and what we understood were the functions, because they were written outside the class, and methods are always written inside the class body. Okay. So the methods are defined inside a class definition in order to make the relationship between the class and the method explicitly. And the syntax of invoking a method is different from the syntax of invoking the function. Now how you are calling the functions earlier? If you just look into this, see here. Now let me show you where we are invoking this time. Say print time. So this is how you are calling. Okay. And you can notice here there is no object used. So just the print time, because this function definition is outside the class, and you can invoke it by just writing the name of the function. Okay. But how do we invoke a method whose definition is present inside the definition of the class? So syntax for invoking a method is different from the syntax of calling the function. Now we'll see how it is done. Now here the function example again. So in class named time and a function named print time looks something like this. So I have the class time, and the definition of the print time is written outside the class. Now creating an instance. So this is the definition of print time, and this t, small t, is an instance created to my class time, and using this t instance I'm defining the attribute hours, minutes, seconds, and then I'm calling print time. So this is how I go for invoking any function which is written outside the definition of the class. So and that is what we understood. Now the method example. So to make print time a method, so I don't want it to be a function now, I want to make it as a method. So then what we have to do is we got to move this print time definition into the definition of the class. Now you can just observe now class time. Now this print time function method definition is written inside the class. The definition of print time is written inside the class definition. Now this print time is no longer a function, and it is a method now. So print time is a method. Now I'm creating instance to my class time with the name lowercase t. Now t dot hours is equal to this. So hours attributes of this instance is initialized to 10, minutes attributes of this instance is initialized to 20, and seconds attribute is initialized to 35. Now I want to invoke the method print time. So now since it is the definition is written inside the definition of the class, so it cannot be invoked just by using the name. So the method can be invoked only on the instances or the object. So now I have the object t. On the object t I go for invoking the print time. Okay. Now when I t dot print time, it makes a call to this method, and here I am going for printing the, and this t instance gets copied to time, and I am printing time dot hours, time dot minutes, and time dot seconds. Hope you people understood.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So and even when you invoked the method keys or the method values and the method split, so all this were again invoked on an instance of the class, built-in class. Say for example, keys you are invoking on the dictionary object and values you are invoking on the dictionary object. How? So name of the dictionary object dot keys is the method, and something similar to that. Okay, next. So let me execute this and show you, because till here we have performed the execution. So now this is the first time I'm calling a method, my own method, so by using the instance. Okay, so class time. So all this time we used to write it as pass, but I'm not writing pass right now. Now inside the class I'm giving the definition of print time, which is nothing but a method. Now create an instance for the class time, assigned hours, minutes and seconds, then invoking the execution of print time over the object t. Okay, now if I press this, so 10, 20 and then 35, 10 hours, 20 minutes, 35 seconds. Now what will happen if I try to call print time with directly without using the instance? So since there is no function with the name print time present outside the class definition, so nothing it's going to call. I'll just remove this t. So nothing. Now it says print time is not defined. So it's trying to look for the definition of the function print time just outside the class definition, and it is not there. And now it is giving you the runtime error. So next is, okay, so the object on which the method is invoked appears before the dot, and the name of the method appears after the dot. So first is the object on which you are trying to invoke the method, and dot, and after the dot you got to specify the name of the method which you are calling. So and inside this class you can go for having multiple definitions or multiple methods. Say print time is one method and you have another method. Now how do you invoke those methods? Again, so name of the object, and you can go for specifying the name of the other method. Now, so next is the object on which the method is invoked is assigned to the first parameter. See here, so we are not passing anything, print time, and we are not passing anything, but still in the definition there is the formal parameter with the name time. Now what actually gets copied to this? So the object on which you are invoking this print time method itself gets copied to this. Now this print time method is being invoked on the object t. Now this t itself gets copied as the first parameter to the print time formal argument. Okay, people understood this? Hello? Please respond.
Understood, sir.
Okay, thank you. Now this. So the object on which the method is invoked is assigned to the first parameter. Okay. Now we have an example here. Current time is assigned to the first parameter time. Okay. Now you can see here, this is the example. By convention, the first parameter for a method is called self. Okay. I have the example on this. I'll show you. So this self is nothing but a this pointer. In Java you use this pointer, correct, right? And in C++ you use this pointer. So this self is something similar to this pointer in Java and C++. Okay. And here in Python, instead of this we call it as self. So I have an example on this. I'll show you later. So syntax for a function call, so something like this: print time, and what we are doing. So current time, an instance of the class, class time, and this is passed as an argument here. Okay. So here it's something like this: makes the function as an active agent. The active agent is what? This function print time, and this print time is saying See, I'm passing you some time, you print this. A print time. Here is an object for you to print. Now, when I take the method call, syntax for the method call, it is something like this. Now, instead of passing this object as parameter to the method print time, so we go for invoking the execution of print time method on this current time object. Current time dot print time. Now this current time will always be passed as the first parameter to print time. Okay, so makes the objects as the active agent. Here the function call makes the functions as the active agent, and the object call, the objects are made as the active agent. And it says something like this: hey, current time, please print yourself. Okay, so it's saying the print time, so this is my current time, so you print it yourself. Okay. So I have another example here. Okay, so this is using the self. I think I need to zoom this a bit. Okay, so class time, and inside the class I have given the definition for the method increment, and if you notice this increment, it is taking two parameters. One is self and other one is seconds. Okay, self is nothing but the dis pointer. Okay, so we'll come to the definition of this function later. Let me start from here. There are two definitions actually which are present inside the class time. One is increment, another one is print time. Now just outside the definition of the class time, I am creating an instance to the time class with the name current time, and the current time hours, minutes and seconds I am assigning here. Now I just want to increment the current time by 500 seconds. Now what I am doing is current time dot increment. I am invoking the execution of current time, invoking the execution of increment on current time by passing 50. Now you already know the object on which the method is invoked itself is the first argument, and the second argument is what, this 500. Okay, now to self what gets copied is the current time, and to seconds what gets copied is 500. Hope you understood. So always the object or the instance on which the method is invoked is considered implicitly as the first argument. Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Now here I am calling, so 500. Now self is nothing but the current time, and the seconds is nothing but 500. Now what I am doing now, self dot seconds is equal to seconds dot self seconds. I am accessing the seconds attributes from the current time object, and to that I am adding 500 seconds. After adding, I am checking while the number of seconds in the self object, if it is greater than or equal to 60, I subtract 60 from the seconds attribute of the self or the current time instance, and increase the minutes by 1 for the current time instance. And similarly, while self dot minutes is greater than 60, so I do this. Okay, decrease 60 from the minutes and increase 1 in the hours. And finally, so how I'm printing my current time after adding 500 seconds, so by invoking print time method on the current time instance. Okay, now we have, so what is updated here, self is updated. What is the self here, the current time itself. So current time dot print I'm calling. Now for print, the first argument that is passed is always the current time, the method, the object on which this method is invoked. Now current time gets copied to t. T is also pointing to the current time object, and I am printing it, hours, minutes and seconds. Okay, now we'll execute this. Say now, so current time was taken as 7 hours 55 minutes and 0 seconds, Into this, if I add 500 seconds, so it's going to become 8 hours 3 minutes and 20 seconds. Okay, so we are invoking the execution of increment method on the current time object by passing another, explicitly passing one more value, that is 500. So current time is implicitly passed and it can be accessed by using self, and this 500 is explicitly copied to the seconds variable. Seconds formal argument. Okay. Now self here refers to this pointer in Java or C#. Okay. Next. So we have one more complicated example. Okay. So class time again. So I have a method with the name after defined inside the class definition, and again you can see here. So this was what? So it was just a value which was passed as second argument to the increment method. One was the object, another one was a normal argument, integer argument. So now in this example, so we see how do we pass the other object also. Okay, so time 2 here, what you are seeing is not an ordinary integer variable or character variable, it is object or instance, one more instance. Okay, so let us start from here. So done time is one instance of the time class or one object for the time class. On this done time, and I'm invoking the execution of a method after by passing another instance current time. Now you know the method on which the object on which the method is invoked is always the first parameter or the first argument to the method, and along with that we are passing one more argument, that is current time. Now the done time object copied is referred by what? The self, and current time is referred by time 2. Okay, and I'm checking if done time r is greater than self dot r is nothing but what? Done time dot r. If it is greater than the current time dot hours or time 2 dot hours, return 1. Otherwise, if self hours minutes is greater than this, I am basically checking whether the done time is bigger than the current time or not. Okay, and then so if minutes is less than time 2 dot minute and self seconds is greater than time 2 dot seconds, so return 1. Otherwise, say bread is not yet done. Okay, so we can only convert one of the parameter to self and other stays the same. Okay, so the method on which the object on which the method is invoked is converted into self, but the other one remains the same. So that is current time, so which gets copied to time. I hope you understood. Any doubts here?
No, sir.
Okay. Next, I think I'll zoom this. Now, this is a complete example now. So again, you can see the definition of the method after here, and along with this after method, we have increment. Okay, increment method is also there, and we have totally 3 instances here. One instance is start time, and then another instance is break time, and one more instance is done time. Okay, now we are invoking the execution of increment on the done time. Okay, and we are not passing anything here. Okay, so we are just calling increment on the done time, and similarly you can go for invoking done time by passing what? The start time and the break time. Okay, so start time plus break time, so should give you the done time. Okay. Next is optional arguments. So till now you understood how to invoke the execution of a method which is there located inside the definition of the class, and how to pass the one object as a self object to the method definition, and how to pass the ordinary variables like integers, integer type variables as argument to the method. And then you also understood how to pass any number of additional instances of a class as argument to the method definition. At any point of time you can go for converting only one object into a self object, okay, and that is the object on which the method is invoked. So next is optional arguments. So built-in functions, we have seen that they can take a variable number of arguments. So we understood earlier many built-in functions, and we have found that majority of the built-in functions can take variable number of arguments. Say for example, the find method that we understood on the strings, the find method which used to invoke on the string method, can take 2 arguments, sometimes 3 arguments, and sometimes even 4 arguments as well. That means this method find which we invoke on the string object, so takes variable number of arguments. Now the question is, and this find is a built-in function, and then it can take variable number of arguments. Now the question is it possible, okay, to write user-defined function with optional arguments list, okay, or optional in the sense if it is possible for you to write an user-defined function with the optional argument list, so then you can go for passing the variable number of arguments. Okay. Now the answer to this question is yes. So you can go for writing the user-defined functions which takes the variable number of arguments. Now how to do that? So I have an example here. We will write our own version to find our own version of find to do the same thing as the string.find with optional arguments. Now this was the built-in function, find was the built-in function, and it was taking sometimes 2 arguments, 3 arguments, or even sometimes 4 arguments also. Now we'll go for writing our own definition for the method find, and this find what we write now, so we'll just make it to take the optional arguments or the variable number of arguments. Okay. So first version of the definition we are writing now for the find method, you can just here look here, the find method is invoked, okay, or you can say it's a find function. Now how we are invoking it? By passing 2 arguments. One is the source string, and this is the pattern which I want to search in my source string, and what find should return is it should return the index where this pattern is found. Now, and the definition here, it is written to do that. So apple gets copied to the source string, and p gets copied to the ch. The index we are initializing it to 0, and while index is less than the length of the source string, so what we do now, we compare str of index is equal to ch. So in case if it matches, we return the index. Okay. So if it doesn't match, we go for incrementing the index by 1, and we repeat it as long as the index is less than the length of the string. So when index crosses the length of the string, so it has understood that the pattern is not found in the source string, and we return -1. Now this is not the built-in definition for defined, this is our own definitions what we have written, and that too we are calling it as the version 1. Okay. So later we are going to modify this in order to take the optional arguments. So now we'll execute this. I'm executing this now. So the definition of the find method is ready, our own definition to the method find. Now I go for invoking this. I call this method by passing two arguments. So one is apple, this is my source string, and my pattern string is this, and it is outputting me 1. That means the pattern P is found at the index 1. Now if I run it again by passing a different pattern, say A, this should give me the index as 0. So the pattern A is found at the index 0. I'll run it again. I'll give a different pattern E. So E is found, the pattern E is found at the index 4. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. Let me give a pattern which is not there in the source string. Now it will return me -1. So -1 says, so the pattern which I am looking for is not there in the source string. So now this is our own definition for the find. Now we'll go for enhancing this method to take variable number of arguments. So version 1, improved version. Okay. See here. Now the definition, if you look, how many arguments I've given? 3 arguments. str, ch, and then start is equal to 0. So this is what the optional argument is. Okay. So first you should have the mandatory arguments and follow by that the optional argument. The optional argument now is start is equal to 0. So it is initialized to 0. Now index is equal to start. So earlier what I was doing, I was assigning the index value as 0. Now I am assigning index value is equal to start. So for example, in this example, so this example, the definition what we have written for find will always start searching this pattern from the beginning of the given string. In case if I don't want to look for this pattern from the beginning, say I want to look for this pattern from the 5th position onwards, so it is not possible using this definition of method. So definition of find. Now it can be done using this. Okay, since it has one more argument, start. Okay, now and then the rest all is same. So while index is less than length of the string, I check whether the character at that particular index is equal to the pattern which I am looking for. If it is same, then I return the index. Otherwise, go for incrementing the index and repeating the process, correct, until the index crosses the length of the string or exceeds the length of the string. Now here I am invoking again the find method. So just by passing only 2 arguments. Now my source string I am passing the character to the pattern to be searched, and there is no third argument. So when I am not passing the third argument, now this is an optional argument that says, that means this method can be invoked either by passing 2 arguments or 3 arguments. Now when I am invoking this method by using 2 arguments, so since the third argument is not there, the optional argument start value will be by default taken as 0, and that is what we are assigning it to index. And here, and it goes. And in the next example, second invoking, so what we are doing, so I am passing the source string apple and the pattern to be searched in 2. Now I am passing the position from where this pattern has to be found inside the source string 2. Now since I am explicitly passing 2, so it overrides the default value. Okay, the default value for the start was 2. Now since I am explicitly passing the 2 as the value, so the start default value will be overwritten by 2, and then our this last argument overrides the default value of start, and then the index will be taken as assigned with 2. assign index is 2, and it will start looking for the pattern free from the index 2, that is 0, 1, 2. From here it starts looking. And similarly, so this is another invocation. So apple, p and 3, I am trying to find this pattern p from the third index onwards, 0, 1, 2, 3. So from the third index onwards we don't have the pattern p present, hence it is returning us -1. Okay, OP people understood with this? Hello?
Yes, sir.
Okay, now we'll execute this. Let me give the definition. Okay, I am giving the new definition for the find, which can take either 2 arguments or 3 arguments now. So either 2 arguments or 3 arguments. This is what. Now I'll go for invoking find just by passing 2 arguments. Look for the pattern P. So worked well. Now I go for invoking the same method. Now when I invoked it using 2 parameters, 2 arguments, so the default value that was taken for the start was 0. Now I'm trying to invoke the same method by passing 3 arguments. Now it is giving me 2. Okay, so I'm trying to look for the pattern P from the second position onwards, or the second index onwards, 0, 1, 2. So P is found at the index value 2. And now one more, find apple comma P from the third index. Now it returns me -1, because from the third index, so there is no pattern P present inside the source string. Next, so you understood how to write the definition of a function with the optional arguments. Okay, when you're writing the definition of a function with the optional argument, you can make it to take variable number of arguments. Okay, now you can see, so the same function called ones with 2 parameters and ones with 3 parameters. Now initialization method. Okay, now when you say a class should have a constructor. Okay, now you can see here, so whenever you create an instance, now you know how to create an instance to the class now. So say for example it's a time class, you can create an instance to the time class by just writing t is equal to time. Whenever you do this, now this method will be called by default. Okay, this is the initialization method. Is a special method that is invoked when an object is created, and you know when an object is created. T is equal to name of the class, opening parenthesis, closing parenthesis. When you do that, this method is called, and it's going to initialize the object for you. Okay, so the name of this method is this. So what you have to notice here is double underscore before init and double underscore after init. So there are 2 underscores here, init and 2 underscores here. 2 underscore characters followed by init and then 2 more underscores. Okay, now the initialization of the method time class, it looks something like this. You can just observe here. So definition, this is the method definition now. Double underscore init, double underscore, self is always there. Self will be there always. And then hours is equal to 0, minutes is equal to 0, seconds is equal to 0. And what are these things? Optional arguments. Okay, now in case if you are not passing anything, by default self will be there. The self argument will be passed. In case if you are not explicitly specifying the value of hour, minutes and seconds, it will be taken as what? 0, 0 and 0. So in case I don't want the hour to be 0, I want hours to be 5 hours. So then when I'm invoking, creating the object, I'll be passing 5. Correct? So then it takes the value which I have passed. The value which I have passed for hours will be initialized as the hours attribute to the self object or the self instance. Okay? So there is no conflict between the attribute self.hours and the parameter hours. So this is what the parameter hours is. So the parameter hours, the value which is here in the parameter hours, gets initialized to the hours attribute of the self object. Okay. So now, sorry. So here is the example now. Now all this time when we were creating an instance to the so when we were creating the instance to the time class, so we used to just write it as current time is equal to time, open bracket and close bracket, and we were not giving any arguments. So now we have given 3 arguments, you can see here. So 9 hours, 14 minutes, 30 seconds. That is what I want to initialize the hours, minutes and seconds attributes of my instance current time. Now when I create an object something like this, it implicitly makes a call to this initialization method, and hours is 9, minutes is 14 and seconds is 30. It gets initialized. Hope you people understood? Is that clear? Please respond. Hello?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Sir.
Next. Now when I call the another method, current time dot print time, okay, invoking the execution of print time method, that means, so by looking into this you can say now, so print time is the method which is defined inside the class definition, and you have the time printed. So when we invoke the current time constructor, the argument we provide are passed along to init. Okay. So and say for example I do something like this, current time, and I'm not passing anything now. Since I'm not passing anything, see this time, so this is something like a parameterized constructor now. Okay, and this is what the default constructor is, something like that. Now time, I mean not passing anything. Now optional, by default it will take now hours as 0, minutes as 0 and seconds as 0. Now when I say current time dot print time, so you can see everything is printed 0. So now it has taken the default values for hours, minutes and seconds, since you're not explicitly defining the hours, minutes and seconds. So because the arguments are optional, we can skip them or you can omit them. So arguments are not written. Okay, let us quickly execute this. I am writing the definition of the class time with the initialization method. Done now. Now I go for creating the instances by passing the arguments. Now all the 3 arguments I'm passing. So when I say self, okay, it is current time now. Okay, current time dot hours is equal to 9 and current time dot minutes is equal to 14, current time dot seconds is equal to 30. Now if I invoke, so print time, I think I've already done it. Okay, yeah, the definition of the print time was not there. Let me copy it. So let me redefine this. So along with the definition of print time, so let me copy only the definition of print time, because I want the print time definition inside this class. What happened? Okay, let me check. So only the indentation problem. Tab, this also. Tab, and we want these statements to be under this. Okay. What is missing? Self dot hours. Inconsistent use of tabs. Okay. Let me give one more. So this is the disadvantage here. This indentation itself is a big problem. Okay, and now it's fine. Now what I'll do, I'll go for doing. I create an instance to my class like this. Now I'll go for printing its time. Now the print time method I invoke using the instance current time. Print time. I don't pass anything. Now when I'm not passing anything, so implicitly, so this object is converted into a self object. Okay. So now the updated time is, so it got printed. Now in the next case, what I'll do is current time. I don't pass in it. Sorry, I have to call current time is equal to this, and I don't pass anything. Created. Now I go for invoking print time on current time object. It should give me all zeros. Updated time, it is 0, 0, 0. Okay. Next. So since all these things are optional arguments, so you can go for, say, I've skipped all. So we skipped all arguments here. Now in the next example, what I'm doing, I'm skipping, I'm just giving only the first argument, and the rest two are skipped. Now 9 will be taken as the value for the hours, and 0 and 0. The default values will be used for minutes and seconds. So 9 is the value that will be used for hours, and minutes and seconds will get the default value, that is 0. Okay. So like this 900. Okay. So similarly, in the next example, we are giving first two arguments, hours and minutes, and we are giving the default value 0 to the seconds. I'm again invoking print time on current time object. So, and the seconds has taken the default value 0. Next again. So provide the parameters by naming them explicitly. So when you pass 9 and 14, so this will be taken as the value for the first argument, and this will be taken as the value for the second argument, and the third one it will take the default value 0. In case if you want to pass it in a different order, so then you got to explicitly name the arguments. Say time, so I'm explicitly assigning the value 30 to seconds and 9 to hours, and you can just observe the order also. If you want to change the order, so then you got to use this explicit naming convention. So now that seconds will take the value 30 and hours will take the value 9, and minutes is going to receive the value 0. Okay. So now I print it. So 9, 0 and 30. So if you are using this explicit naming convention while passing the arguments, then you can pass it in any order. If you're not using the explicit naming convention, then you got to specify in the sequence. Okay. So the first argument what you give, it will be taken as the value for the first optional argument. The second value what you give will be taken as the value for the second optional argument, and for the third one it will take the default value 0. Okay. So next we have the another example points revisited. See, point class we understood earlier beginning when we started with the classes and objects. So you can see the point class here, and this is what the initialization method for the point class. Okay. So I have self, and then x is equal to 0, y is equal to 0 optional arguments, self dot x is equal to x and self dot y is equal to y. I have another definition for the method string. Okay. A double underscore string and double underscore self. Now I have written my own definition for str, and there is a built-in function with the name str also. Whenever you are writing your own definition for str, so your definition is going to override the built-in definition of str. Whenever you call str, it's not going to call the built-in function str, but instead it makes a call to the definition which is present inside your class definition. So the initialization method takes x and y values as the optional parameters, and the default for either parameter is 0. The next method str returns the string representation of the point. Okay, and since str is already a built-in function, since you are given the definition of str inside the class, it overrides the default behavior of the Python built-in function str. Say for example, here I am creating an instance to the point class with the name p by passing 3 and 4. Now when I say strp, so it prints, it makes a call to this. So it makes a call to this method, and you can notice it is not making a call to the built-in function str. Okay. So next is the operator overloading. Okay, this we'll discuss it in next class. I think next class I'll complete this, and we'll start the web scraping, the module 5, uh, after completing the operator overloading. So any doubts till here?